1 2 1 2 1 2. Okay, we're good to go. Oh no, you know what I've done? I've only gone and left my eyes are gonna reach. Yeah, there we go. Boom. Okay, we are live. 1 2 1 2. Mic check, mic check. Now, excuse me. Just while the stream picks up. If you're watching this back on YouTube later, just skip forward because Manaman's going to eat a cronut. This is not a donut and it's not a croissant. It is a cross between the two. It is like a really thick ass donut that's made of croissant material. So if you're watching this live, if you're watching this back on YouTube later, you can skip forward. But just thought we'd stick here while we get the stream going. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of people in already. How's it going, YouTube? How's it going? GT50, Callum, Mr. Richmond, good to see you, buddy. How's it going, man? How's it going? What's up, everyone? Now, you won't have noticed this yet, but I've made some upgrades to the stream. So my last live stream I did, I was very frustrated with some things that were going wrong. Firstly, the camera kept cutting out, my DSLR, very frustrating, and the multimeter cam never bloody works. So I have made some changes. Is the audio and video out of sync? Oh, you know what? It shouldn't be because I calibrated it just now. That's really frustrating. I calibrated my video and audio just now on recording and it was spot on. So I'm going to have to try and make some changes. So you guys are going to help me. Okay. You guys tell me, does it look like the video is in front of the audio or is the audio in front of the video? Let me know. Video is in front of the audio. Video is in front of the audio. Mic check, mic check. Okay, video. So if the video is in front of the audio, that means I need more delay on the camera. Okay, one sec. Okay, so is that better or worse? I've gone from 5 milliseconds down to 0. So, oh, by 2 seconds? Huh? That's worse, okay. All right, mic check, mic check. That's now 10 milliseconds. How's that? Should be better. The video is 6 seconds ahead. That can't be right. That can't be right, because watch this. I just did a calibration video before this stream, okay? Okay, so this is a microphone check with the DJI Osmo. Just seeing how the audio is. Now it's perfectly in sync. Now about 2 seconds ahead. This makes no sense, right? Okay, let's increase the filter. Let's go for 20 milliseconds. All right, mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. How is that now? Is that better? I'm just going to try and currently live on YouTube. Lol. I'm just going to look at this stream on my phone just to see whether I can see it for myself. Here we go. Okay. I'm just going to look at this stream on my phone just to see whether I can see it for myself. Mic check 1 2. Okay. I'm just going to look at this stream on my phone just to see whether I can. Mic check 1 2. That's off by so much. I'm so confused what's going on with that. Okay, I've just tried something. I've just gone down to 720p on the webcam. I'm wondering whether it's got something to do with the USB bandwidth. Oh, there we go, it's better. Must be USB bandwidth issue, because yeah, I've just changed the webcam settings to 720p and that's lots better, isn't it? Right, I do think that still I need a 5 millisecond delay, because I think it's still a little bit off, isn't it? If you have a quick look, it's still a little touch off. So if I just quickly go away, if I just quickly go to this again. Oh wait, that's 20. It's still on 20. All right. Yeah, it looks okay now. It looks okay now. It's better now. Oh, there we go. It's better. Yeah, it looks okay now. It looks okay now. Yeah, that's spot on. Okay. Right. Anyway, let's start this again. Good evening, guys. How's it going? Glad that everything's in sync now. I just need to turn my webcam down to 720. How's it going? I hope you're doing well. It's Monday evening here. It's absolutely roasting. We've got like a high humidity, blue skies, beautiful outside. Thought I'd do a cheeky stream for you. Now, for those of you who joined me on my last stream, which wasn't that many, I think I only had 50 viewers, we looked at some PA amplifiers. We're not going to be doing that this evening, but on that stream, I got very frustrated because the webcam kept cutting out, my multimeter cam kept cutting out, nothing was working, and it was a bit of a pain in the ass. So I made some small upgrades to the stream setup this evening. You might notice that it looks a little different, maybe a little better, not quite as soft. It's I'm using a DJI Osmo as the webcam, but the most important thing about this upgrade is the sound. Do any of you guys remember how the stream sounded before? Here, I'll show you. This is how the stream used to sound. So the microphone you're now listening to is with the JVC, and as you can tell, it's very tinny sounding. It's not a very full, rich sound, but that's how the stream has been running for years now. It's been using these microphones ever since I took the RTA mics away and used them for something else. This is how the stream has been, but with the Osmo plugged in, I can make use of their superb microphones, and now I can have a stream that sounds like this. So that's pretty awesome. Secondly, we do have multimeter cam that's not going to cut out because I swapped the cameras for a bigger one. So I was using this little thing here, which is like a little inspection cam, and it was a nightmare. So I've actually just really redneck cable tied it to this ruler here through my mount for the multimeter. So now these cameras are reliable and they don't cut out. So that should work fine, and the multimeter camera should not be cutting out anytime soon like it used to. And I'm just munching on a just while the stream gets going, I'm just munching on a cronut. It's like a cross between a croissant and a donut, and it's actually really nice. Well, how was your guys' weekend? Let me know about your weekend, guys. And for the first part of the stream, we're going to be looking at the Big Boss 3. Hey yo, straight up kicking the nuts. How's it going, buddy? Good to see you on the stream. Live chat's gone a bit dead. You still here? Yep, still running. So yeah, let me know if the stream sounds better to you. Because I think based on the video test I did, it sounds like a lot better. Yo, how's it going, Donnell? Good to see you, buddy. So, the Big Boss 3. You may have already seen my video on the Big Boss 8 that I did a couple of days ago. And today we're going to be seeing whether the Big Boss 3 has the same kind of features. One of the most important features that I discussed on the Big Boss 8 was the fact that it has this noob protection mode, where if you clip the amplifier and you drop below 11.5 volts, it hard limits the amplifier, it prevents hard clipping, and it reduces the input signal level to save the amplifier if you are abusing it and there's something going on, not enough power supply or just hard clipping, etc. So I'm curious to see whether the Big Boss 3 has that feature or not. So yeah, scope cam does go out of focus every now and then, but it comes back in. You just have to put your hand in front of it and then it should refocus. Unless it's not going to, because I've got a weird thing going on with the little cameras here, and you know what I think it is? Oh no, there we go. No, these Logitech webcams are just a little bit old and a little bit slow, but it's fine. So let's get this connected up, and I want to see whether this Big Boss 3 has the same noob protection mode that the Big Boss 8 does. Oh, Anders, thank you very much, man. I appreciate that. I spent a few days on that video. I could have made it a lot more cinematic, but I wanted to get the main information out there, and I didn't want to do a long, boring intro that takes ages and a boring outro, so I just thought I'd stick to the main points and get the information relayed, so I'm glad you liked it. So we're going to plug some RCA in, because we want to get some signal going in as well, so we can actually see whether this funky protection mode is present on the Big Boss 3 as well. Okay, cool, so we're ready to power up now. Let's get the power supply turned on. So this is the first time I'm powering this up. I've never powered this up before yet. So let's see whether this has the same feature. I would imagine... Thomas Exterior says video is now 4 to 5 seconds ahead. I hope that you're watching the live stream delayed, because I think the audio is okay now. What is it the customers complain about this amp? Well, this amp's so new that I have never had one in for repair. I've only literally just seen this amplifier for the first time a couple of days ago. Did you get a new camera? Yes, I've been using the DJI Osmo Pocket 3, which is a fantastic little camera. But yeah, glad that you liked it. Thomas, you are behind in the stream, bro. Anyway, let's power this up for the first time and see what we're dealing with. I suspect we're going to have the same 40 kilohertz output switching frequency, I imagine. So we're just going to go and set that on the scope there, so we can see those waveforms on the output section. So let's go and just quickly probe the power supply MOSFET drain first. So we've got our health check mode. Going to need a bit more current than that. There, yep, health check mode to start off with. And let's have a look on the output section. We have single positive rail over here, And then we have our low side drain on this pin. So let's just see what the Class C switching frequency is. I suspect it's 40 kilohertz. Okay, there we go. Interesting. The duty cycle is not 50%, and the switching frequency is actually 100 kilohertz. So it's different to the Big Boss 8, which would kind of make sense given that this is a small amplifier with much faster MOSFETs, probably because the Big Boss 8 is using IGBTs, which are very hard to switch on and off quickly. So let's just remove the. So yeah, we've got 63% duty cycle on that bank there, and I'm just curious to check the other bank as well. See what we've got on the other bank. I'm just going to remove the RCA just to get the PWM to disappear. I just want to see what the switching wave looks like on its own. Yeah, 64% duty. So that would mean, okay, I'm just getting a quick phone call, but I'm just going to ignore that, I think. Yep, I'm just going to ignore that. Thomas! It's Thomas in the live chat ringing me. Dude, you need to catch up with the stream, bro. The audio is fine now. Did you see that FET current sensor is out of stock and EOL? Did not notice that. Interesting. Hawaiian water pipes are leaking up through the kitchen floor at my folks' house. That's not fun. Oh man, that sucks. I hope you get that sorted, buddy. But yeah, so we're with a 9.5 volts worth of input. We are seeing 64% duty cycle, 100 kilohertz. Okay, and that's going to give us on the speaker terminals, because with these single rail voltage amplifiers, the rail voltage, or the duty cycle on the low side drain will determine the amount of DC on the speaker terminal. So we've got 59 volts there at the moment, and the rail itself is sitting at 92. So we're actually closer to the positive rail than we are the negative rail. So I suspect if we were to try and hard clip this amplifier, it would clip off at the top of the sine wave before the bottom. Now, what I'm interested to see is, does this change as we increase the voltage, battery voltage into the amplifier, which I have seen before on the HD 3000, for example, where it actually does that on purpose. I think it does. Yeah, they've used the same design methodology. So the duty cycle is referenced to the rail voltage. Basically, the higher the rail voltage, the lower the duty cycle. So this amplifier is basically calibrated perfectly for 12 volts. So that means that at 12 volts input voltage, we've got 50% duty cycle, which means that there's going to be exactly half rail voltage on the speaker terminals with the 12 volts worth of input. And that's going to mean that the sine wave clips evenly. But if we go up to 14 volts, you're going to start to see we've got a low duty cycle, which means that the DC is now closer to the negative rail, which means it's going to start clipping off at the bottom first. Now, I've asked Terrence about this before, and they actually say that it's a design, it's an intended design feature. It's to prevent this amplifier from trying to produce too much power when the customer is running 14 volts. So if you check the power ratings of this amplifier, the 14 volts rating is going to be closer to the 12 volts rating than in other amplifiers. It's not just going to be square law correction factor as it is with Koreans and other things that are fixed to 50% duty. So this amplifier is kind of optimized for 12 volt operation, and you can run it at 14 volts and you're going to get a bit more power, but not as much more power as you would if this was like a more generic, a more classical design, which is strange. And this is actually something that I might mention on the video that I do on this. So interesting. Okay, now what I really want to know though is, does this have the same noob protection mode? So let's plug our RCA into the side here, and let's get a sine wave cook in. We're going to go, we're going to start off with, let's start off with 10 volts, okay? And we're going to reach clip point first and see, firstly, what it's like when it's hard clipping. I suspect, as I mentioned, we're going to get clipping on one rail before the other. Let's zoom out on the scope a little bit here. So reject high frequency. Turn our signal level up a little bit. So as you can see, nice clean sine wave there. And interestingly, let's have a look. Where are we clipping? We look like we're clipping a little bit. Yeah, we clip at the top first, which is exactly what I predicted. Didn't I just predict that? I was like, we're going to clip at the top first. And that's just because we have excessive duty cycle with low voltage. So yes, we clip at the top of the sine wave before the bottom. Very strange design choice. But anyway, when we up this to 12 volts worth of input, I don't want to do this too much because hard clipping the amplifier is not good for it. You can see now we clip evenly at top and bottom. Yeah, because we have 50% duty cycle. And if I was to do this at 14 volts, we clip at the bottom first. But I don't want to do that because this hard clipping is really bad for the amplifier. Anyway, what I'm curious about is, because I've now hard clipped the amplifier, does this amp share the same behavior as the Big Boss 8 where it has this noob protection? No, it doesn't. As you can see, even with 9.9 volts worth of input, I'm still able to hard clip this amp. So it doesn't share the same noob protection. I'm calling it noob protection. It doesn't share that with the Big Boss 8, sorry. So it's got me wondering, what are the upgrades that they've done to the Big Boss 3 over and above the Smart 3 bass, for example? It looks exactly the same circuit design, apart from obviously the LEDs on the front. Yeah, I'd actually have to get a Smart 3 bass in here on the bench to compare it to, because it's been a while. I don't get many Taramp smart amplifiers in for repair, believe it or not. Honestly, the amount of them that's floating around, I don't actually see that many of them in for repair, and because they're not dying. So I would need to get in a Smart 3 to compare, to go over if there's actually any operational differences between them. Let's have a quick look. One thing I did want to check was, I noticed on the Smart 8 we were using these overcurrent protection ICs on both the power supply and on the outputs. And on the Big Boss 3 it looks like we do actually have one of those by the power supply feds, which is pretty freaking great. I love to see it. So we've got overcurrent protection on the power supply side, on the power supply FETs, which is great. Now, I was having a look and I didn't see one of these chips over on the output section. And at first I was like, okay, so they haven't got that on the output section. But then I remembered, the IRS2092 drive IC, which is what's being used here on the output section, has this functionality built in. So the 2092 has overcurrent protection built in already, which you can calibrate using different resistor values for the desired amount of current that you want to allow this amplifier to make before the 2092 shuts down and goes into protect and trips the rest of the circuit. So yes, we do in this case have overcurrent protection in both the output section and in the power supply section, which is pretty cool. Same as the Big Boss 8, just a slightly different methodology. But yeah, apart from that, we've got a faster switching frequency, which is cool. It means it's going to be a higher bit rate sine wave. Not that it really matters much at these low frequencies between sort of 20 to 100 hertz. Not going to make any difference going from 40 kilohertz to 100 kilohertz. But because these MOSFETs, well, they're MOSFETs for a start, not IGBTs, and they're smaller and faster, so they can get away with switching them faster, which also means that they don't need quite as big output inductors, and it means that these will work better at the higher frequency. So that's a pretty cool. Yeah, let's have a quick look at the frequency response. I want to see whether we have the same sort of frequency response as the Big Boss 8. Let's pop this on again and turn the signal down a little bit. Okay, so we have a sine wave there. So we've got everything on minimum at the moment. So we've got all the crossover dials, etc. on minimum. We're playing 50 hertz. So let's go down. Ah, yes, we do increase a little bit. So let's keep going down and see where our fixed high pass filter starts rolling off. Well, I'm all the way down at 17 hertz. We've got 9.2 volts. Okay, well, we're dead flat, even down to 17. So let's just go down even further. Let's see, where does this really start to drop off? Okay, it starts dropping off at about 11-12 hertz. So it's the same preamp circuit in terms of the high pass filter, fixed high pass filter, as we've got in the Big Boss 8, which is pretty cool. Love to see it. Let's just see where the low pass filter starts rolling in. Starts rolling in at about 38 hertz. Yeah, so it's the exact same preamp circuit basically that's in the Big Boss 8. So that's cool. Love to see it. I was a big fan of that. So yeah, liking this so far. Liking this so far. Apart from the variable duty cycle, there's no need for that, because the components in this amplifier are rugged enough to make the extra power at 14 volts. The Taramps don't need to sandbag it like that, I don't think. I think this is just some design feature that's been left over from the older HD3K days, perhaps. I'd love to ask Taramps about that and why they've decided to still include that feature, or whether it's accidental. Is this part of the series with those amps from last week? Not just yet. I have made some progress, by the way. So who would like a quick update about the Camco amplifiers? If you want some updates on the Camcos from last week, give me a shout, let me know. Recommendations for a shallow mount, 8 or 10 sub. To be honest, Steve, I haven't really done much research into shallow subs. They're not something that I'm super interested in or have a need for. So I'm just trying to think off the top of my head whether I'm aware of any that are pretty good. Probably, like, if you can afford it, probably a JL Audio. The JL Audio shallow subs, from what I've seen, are fantastic performing. See if you can get one used, maybe. That's probably what I'd go for. Noob protection. Yeah, that's what I'm going to call it. Noob protection. If you're under 11.5 volts and you're hard clip, that's noob, bro. That's noob usage. Noob protection is going to kick in, save your ass. Dayton makes shallow subs as well. Does it? Sick. Did not know this. Why did Dayton make shallow subs? For home theater application? Interesting. Anyway, so that's the Big Boss 3. I'm just going to have a look at the LEDs. I want to see whether they're the same function as the LEDs on the 8, because I actually do love it. I love the VU meter effect. It's freaking awesome. Oh, it's small. I love it. Little baby VU effects. Got the old flash of ruby. I hate that one. Strobe. What are we saying? There we go. So we've got VU meters, dual from either side, or we come in from one side. I prefer this. I prefer this VU meter style. Interesting. The clip LED doesn't seem to be accurate. Oh! Hang on a minute, what did I just hear? I think this amp does have the same noob protection, but it doesn't activate as quickly. Let's just have a look at this for a sec. We've got 10.8 volts worth of input voltage going in. Let's clip this mother fricker. Okay, no, it's still clipping like balls. I'm sure something happened just then where it kind of dropped out a bit. Maybe I need to go down on the voltage a bit. Nope. So take a look at the 3 logo. Okay, so we are absolutely hard clipping this amplifier right now. And see, the clip light isn't coming on and staying on. It's kind of coming on and off. That's inaccurate, that is. Yeah, the VU meter is not accurate on the on the Big Boss 3. And the clip light doesn't seem accurate either. It's okay once you get up to soft clipping, not even. Yeah, they need to look into this. Yeah, clip LED on this one, at least, is sporadic and isn't reliable. I'm pretty sure it was on the yeah, on the Big Boss 8. I actually showcased it on the video where it's hard clipping and it stays hard clipping. Dayton are expensive, but the quality is great. Yeah, I imagine it's cheaper than the JL Audio though. Stereo Integrity makes one that's pretty nice. We don't get Stereo Integrity in the UK that I'm aware of. It might just be that I haven't gone looking for it, but I don't think we have do we have a distributor for Stereo Integrity here in the UK? I have no idea. Sam Perry, how's it going, man? Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Very good, thank you. Doesn't even go red now, it just seems to go orange. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, weird. I'd love to see how the clip LED behaves in current mode clip, because on the Big Boss 8 at least, it doesn't come on. So yeah, that's an interesting observation. Have to do a bit more looking into that, I think. Also feels a little bit warm on the power supply side, which is strange. It shouldn't be getting warm. Oh no, I think it's the LEDs actually. It's just on the back here. That's where the LEDs are, they get a little bit warm. Yeah, it shouldn't be getting warm at all because we didn't have a load connected, so. Chilling with a nice glass of Ribena. Ah, jealous. Man's jealous. I ran out of Ribena. And also this evening we're going to be doing some customer repairs. So no Ribena for us. So for anyone who cares, updates on the Camco amplifiers. I did a live stream a couple of days ago where I was having a first look at some Camco PA amplifiers. They're Class H and I've got 7 of them, and a couple of them have some weird issues where clip LED is staying on. The clip LED being on and red, by the way, isn't a fault mode that's documented in the manual, so it's not a fault mode. The amplifier doesn't think there's a problem, but obviously there's something wrong in the circuit. Clip LED shouldn't be on all the time. And I was having some other issues as well with the Class H, the rail stepping that's supposed to follow the sine wave. So basically how Class H works is the rail voltage changes and gets higher, but it follows the sine wave. It's really cool actually. And that wasn't happening on a couple of these amplifiers here. So basically it was clipping off the sine wave, like it was clipping off the bottom of the sine wave where the negative rail wasn't stepping to the next tier. And I think I've found some problems. It's taken me 3 days of solid work because there's no schematics on these amplifiers anywhere. So I've just been reverse engineering these amplifiers and learning how they work and just kind of tracing traces and like freaking, yeah, it's been long. But I think I understand how they're working. I understand what circuits are what and where everything goes. And I've got some parts on order. So fingers crossed, we can get these up and running again. Because I honestly, I can't think of many other people in the UK or really anywhere in the world that would take, like technicians generally, they need a schematic. Like if you're a business that has amplifiers, you know, if you're like a PA business, or you know, you're a sound hiring business or something like that, and you have a bunch of PA amps and you've got like 7 that need repairing, you call up a bunch of repair centers, you say, hey, I've got these amps, unless the repair center specifically specializes in this make and model of amplifier and has service manuals from the manufacturer because they're like an authorized repair center or something like that, unless they have that, then most places are just going to turn them away, because they're going to have to do basically what I've been doing, where it's spend like 3, 4, 5 days or a week reverse engineering the circuit, learning how it works, basically, so that you can then perform a repair on something. It's not even like this is a simple repair where it's like output transistors are dead and you just replace them or something. It's not a simple repair like that. This is like complicated, tiny freaking issues in the control circuitry and the SMD areas and like stupid stuff. No one's going to take that on that I'm aware of, apart from me, because I love wasting my time learning stuff apparently. So hopefully I can get these working for these guys. And I'm quite, I was feeling a bit a bit low about them because I was kind of struggling. I was like, man, how the hell am I going to work out how these things work? No schematics or nothing. But I feel a bit more confident now because I think I learned a bit better how they work. I did get a nice shock off the 240 though. That was fun. I didn't realise that so in these amplifiers, it doesn't look like the power switch actually has continuity to the mains. It looks like the power switch is just like a little low level, you know, like a little signal level, logic level switch that just tells the SG3525 to come alive. So basically I pulled one out of the heatsink, one of these boards out of the heatsink, had it on the bench, and I was holding the metal plug case. I've got this like this little adapter case. This has got the mains plug on it, and the metal case is ground. So I was touching ground on one side, and then with the amp out of the case, I've gone to touch the switch that turns the amplifier on, thinking it's like just logic level, like 5 volts or something like that. Turns out, as I found out, it's got 240 on it. So I got a 240 across the body, which is really quite scary, a bit dangerous. It just felt a bit weird. I think I was lucky that I had some dirt on my hands and a bit of higher resistance, and also the metal casing of my plug socket thing is painted a little bit as well. So yeah, I got a bit lucky there, but that kind of was a wake-up call, and I was like, fuck, need to make some changes with my bench setup, I think, to better accommodate mains amps. If I'm going to be doing mains amps more often, I need to get myself like a variac, an isolation transformer, blah blah blah, all this other bullshit. But at the moment I'm just like taking on mains amps when my bench setup is all set up for car stuff, so I need to try and sort something out so I'm a bit better set up for that. But anyway, talking of car stuff, we're gonna rebuild this. Why not? This is what you will find in 99% of sort of cheap cloned amplifiers from China, from a variety of different brands, offering a lot of power, full bridge topology from a small package. And this one is supposed to be this is a 2-channel. This is a 1800.2 is the name of this. So I suspect this is probably putting out, looking at this, it's probably putting out about 3K total, perhaps. So we've got a little 2-channel class D. We need to strip it out of the heatsink because we have a completely toasted power supply. And these things are really volatile. They die all the freaking time. They're really badly optimized. They're not too dissimilar from the Big Boss 3 or the Tamps, you know, Smart 3. Very similar kind of setup with the 2092s. Well, actually, I think is this one. Yeah, this one's 2092s. 2092s, very similar MOSFETs being used, similar power supply, etc. But they're just very poorly optimized. It just goes to show that you can have the same, what looks like from the outside, a very similar circuit with the same parts, but you can have wildly different reliability and performance between 2 amps depending on how well they've been optimized. Carl, hey there, finally catching our live stream. Yeah, boy! Glad to have you here, my man. Does it sound better with the plastic on? No, it will get hot quicker. I'm just keeping the plastic on just to prevent it getting any marks or anything on it. Yeah, might as well. I'm not going to be pushing it to get it super hot, so might as well keep it looking fresh for whoever ends up using it in the future. I got bit by a 200 volt cap. Well, that's DC. That's not fun. DC hurts a lot more than AC, in my opinion. I think when I've got hit by DC, it's more of a constant feeling, whereas with the AC hit that I got, it was more of it was a wobble. It was like a whoa, okay, easy to let go of. It was like, oh, okay. Whereas with the DC, it's like, ah! Like your whole friggin' body like twists. Is weird, man. Evelyn, can you mail me a schematic for this LG Mini Hi-Fi? Sorry, bro. I'm not a source of schematics. I am a very bad source of schematics because I don't use schematics really. Yeah, so I'm not the right person to ask for a schematic because I don't use them. I don't hoard them. I don't go looking for them really. I only go looking for a schematic if I get really stuck. If I can't reverse engineer something, or if something's cheap and I just want a quick reference, or if I've got burned parts that don't have a mirror image section on the board that I need like resistor values for, then yeah, you need a schematic. But Matthew, when I bring my NAD and Technics over, will you be interested in repairing them on stream? I don't know. Probably not. Yeah, I'd rather just chill, to be honest, with those. Yeah. Like, I'm not looking forward to them, to be honest, not gonna lie. So the NAD is a weird one because it works fine, but I think it works fine, but didn't it make a pop sound from inside? But it works fine, so it's not like it's an easy fault that I can just look for. The Technics is a pain in the butt because it's all like mechanical problems, probably, with like all the switches, toggle switches and stuff. So it's gonna be like time consuming, stripping it all down, like opening all the bloody potentiometers and switches, like fully dismantling them, and yeah, not looking forward to doing those, to be honest, but I'm sure it'll be fine. As an electrician, AC is much more dangerous. I've personally got stuck on a 400 volt bus bar. That's not good, bro. 400 volts AC. I think maybe the reason that AC is like seen as more dangerous is because 400 volts AC actually has voltage peaks, like the swings of the AC waveform go well above 400 volts, isn't it? So it's the same way as if you full rectify a 240 volt AC waveform, you actually end up with about 350 or so volts, maybe even a bit more. So maybe that's why AC is a bit dangerous, because the actual voltage peaks across your body are actually higher than it would be with a DC. Carl says all your muscles will contract. Was that a typo or was that intentional? I love that word. There's contract. As muscles will contract. So that's great. Yo, Real Flow, how's it going, bro? I don't know for sure if something did, but the pop definitely sounded like something inside. Otherwise, it needs a few recaps. Yeah, no worries. We'll see what we can do. I took a hit repairing a pair of GHD hair straighteners. Dude, I did the same thing. Was it GHDs? Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was GHDs. I was dismantling the little mains plug that goes on the actual end of the hair straightener, because it's a 360. It's like a what do you call it? Like a slip thing, brushed, whatever. Anyway, that was intermittent, so I was dismantling that, and I bloody forgot to unplug it from the mains, didn't I? Stupid rookie mistake. So I'd like, luckily it was just my little finger just touched it. It was like, okay, let's have a look. Let's have a look. I don't want these coming with me. I don't want these thermal pads coming with me. Here's tape. There we go. Very nice, very nice. Now, what are we saying on the bottom of the board? Any blown traces or anything like that? Nope, not seeing any blown traces today. So, cool. Nice. I forgot the plug was still in exactly the same. Yeah, why is that? What are the coincidences, yeah, that two people meet each other on a live stream that have got an electric shock, which is not that common, off of the exact same device, which is even less common, for the exact same reason? That's our next, like, not unfortunate, unlikely chance of that. No, I preferred it when you said contrag, Carl. That was I love that word. That was great. I want to bench test my amplifiers. What should I use as a load? I've bought 4 pieces of 4,000 watt, 4 ohm. You didn't need anything that big unless you've got some big ass amplifiers. Will that work? Yes. Obviously, you will just need to wire the amplifiers down to their minimum recommended impedance, and then away you go. You're going to need an oscilloscope so that you can see when the clipping occurs. But be careful. Like bench testing amplifiers like that with a resistive load is very stressful for the amplifier. So be careful. You may damage your amplifier depending on how overbuilt it is, and how well built it is for taking that kind of abuse. I mean, obviously it should do fine. It's rated for doing that, so it should be fine, but There's plenty of videos of amplifiers on amp dynos and being bench tested with resistive loads that say otherwise. It's a very hard test for it. Just had a great idea actually. I'd love to make a video that checks. So basically, I was just kind of thinking, let's say you've got 10 of the same model amplifier. Let's say you've got 10 Smart 3s, for example. Let's just use terms as an example. So you've got 10 Smart 3s, right? What I want to check is I want to check whether the current sharing across all of the parallel MOSFETs in the power supply and the output section is even across those 10 examples. I'm wondering whether people that have bad experiences with amplifiers, where they blow like when they shouldn't have done, you know, they weren't doing anything wrong, everything was hooked up correctly, but they just fail under load. I wonder whether it's because they just got unlucky and that the amplifier that they've got just didn't have very well matched MOSFETs in terms of the MOSFET's internal resistance, the RDS. Whether they just got one where the balancing of current, the current sharing between the parallel FETs just wasn't great, and you had just 1 or 2 or 3 FETs that were doing most of the power, and then they've been overstressed. So I'd love to get a batch of like 10 amplifiers and yeah, just test them with the MOSFETs away from the heatsink with the thermal imager and apply a load just to see how well balanced and how evenly the MOSFETs heat up. That'd be kind of interesting. Are you still doing Boom or Bust series? I'm not doing it at the moment. Like, I'd love to do a series 2, but I'm overwhelmed with work. I'm overwhelmed with repairs at the moment. There's no way I could like dedicate time to doing a season 2 right now. I do want to do a season 2, but Boom or Bust doesn't make me any money. And I need to make money to live, and so doing repairs makes me money. So yeah, season 2 will come at some point, but only when I've got some free time. And if you don't keep asking me about it, because the more people will ask me about it, the more people say, "Oh, when you do season 2, when you do season 2?" Like I'm just gonna kind of get a bit bored of people asking, and then just won't end up doing it. So it will come when it's ready. That's a camera on his hat. Yes, a big score. E.T. go home. There's a camera, man. It's my hat cam. Yo! I don't use it as much as I should, but there we go. So all the power supply FETs are out of this. As you can see, we have complete power supply meltdown. By the looks of it, let's have a look at the gate resistors. So we don't know yet whether the drive circuit has survived, but one telltale sign is whether we have any blown gates. If all the gate resistors are perfectly intact, then chances are there wasn't any current that flowed back towards the drive IC, so the driver may be fine. So I'm just going to have a quick visual on these. Not seeing any that are super burned. I mean, this one looks burned, but it could have just been covered in soot from this FET exploding here. Actually, that one there looks a bit burned, just behind this this transformer here. See if we can take a look at the actual driver itself. It's kind of hard to see it because we've got the end plate here, but the drive IC for the power supply is this one here that's labelled C2. Now sometimes these get visibly burned. It's not visibly burned, it looks visibly okay, but it doesn't mean that it is okay, but at least it's not like got a hole in it like sometimes they do. So okay, cool. Let's get all of these MOSFET legs out, and then we can check the driver and see if the driver's okay, see if that needs replacing or not. I bought the 4000 watt resistors because I thought to overbuild my test bench from the start. Yeah, I guess. Sounds like it might have been quite expensive though. I mean, I've only got 4 pieces of 1000 watt resistors, and they're 1000 watt continuous. So if you've bought 4000 watt resistors, I assume that they are 4000 watts continuous. But for bench testing amps, it's not continuous. You know, it's like a few seconds, if that. So the 1000 watt resistors that I've got will actually take in excess of 4000 watts in a burst. So yeah, they're ample for this application really. So if you've got 4000 watt continuous resistors, then that is absolutely ridiculously overkill. But I guess there's nothing wrong with that. just be a shame if you unnecessarily spent a bunch of money on them when you didn't necessarily need to. But I watched your review on the Powerus amps. How many of them have you come across your workbench for repairs? Three of them have been on my bench for repair. Compared to how many there are floating around the UK, there's got to be, it's got to be in the hundreds now. Yeah, I've seen very little numbers of Powerus amplifiers in for repair, and one that I saw was actually not an issue with the circuit. It was a manufacturing assembly defect. Sadly, a tiny little bit of solder had gotten sandwiched between the power supply MOSFET drain and the heatsink thermal pad. So basically, when the MOSFET was clamped down to the heatsink, it was pushing the little solder ball and making a short between the MOSFET drain and the heatsink. So that's why that one failed. But that's not a problem. You know, that's not like, oh, these amps are bad circuit design or anything like that. It was just unfortunate assembly mishap. I've got one Powerus 15K 2-ohm version currently that I need to look at for repair. It works, but it gets really hot on one side, so I suspect there's just something not quite happy with either one side of the drive circuit or something like that. But the 15K 2-ohm version is, I wouldn't really recommend anyone get that amplifier. The voltages inside that are so high that basically the optimizations that are required for that amplifier to be reliable and stable are going to be a lot different to, say, the 1 ohm or the 0.5 ohm version, just because the voltages are so high. When you start getting into higher voltages like that, you'll get different ringing, you'll get different capacitances, and you'll get different nonsense going on the board that you don't want, that you don't get with a lower voltage amplifier. And you can't necessarily just take the same circuit design and scale it for a 0.5, 1 ohm and 2 ohm version and have them all be as reliable as each other or perform in the same way as each other. You could probably get away with it with a 0.5 and a 1 ohm version, you know, staying under like 8 kilowatts or whatever. But as soon as you go into this big power, and especially when you're going up to 2 ohm, I mean, that Powerus 15K 2 ohm is basically like a 30 or 35 kilowatt amplifier, if you were talking about 1 ohm ratings. So it's going to have the same internal rail voltages and everything as like a 30 kilowatt amplifier. It's just not got enough parallel components to do that power. So it does 15K at 2 ohm instead, if that makes sense. So yeah, I wouldn't necessarily recommend the 2 ohm version. Yeah, so I've got one of those to look at. The only other one I think one of them I had a Powerus 3K, and that was in just because it was dropped in shipping pretty bad, and so it had a smashed output inductor. And let me tell you, that was a royal pain in the butt to repair, because the output inductors are so well attached to the bloody boards in those amps. It took me ages to get it off. So that was annoying, but again, that wasn't a problem with the amplifier as such. That was just, unfortunately, it got destroyed in shipping. But and then I think I have seen one Powerus, only one. I think I've seen only one Powerus amplifier that just had dead output FETs for seemingly no reason. Must have just been a bad FET or driver from the factory, but oh no, I'm forgetting one. I made a TikTok on one Powerus, I think it was an 8K or a 10K, and it is the rarest fault that I've ever seen, and even people that you know, repair electronics for a living that watched that video could not believe what the fault was. It was a resistor, a surface mount resistor, okay, that instead of, so basically with a resistor, if a resistor fails, it will generally fail up in resistance. So if a resistor like burns or like is overdriven, then its resistance will increase as it gets damaged. However, what I had was a tiny surface mount resistor that showed no visual signs of being stressed or damaged by any means, and it had decreased in value quite considerably. and it was causing the amplifier to think the rail voltage was higher than it was, so it was going into protect. Never seen that before in my life. But yeah, surface mount resistor had decreased in resistance by quite a considerable amount. And yeah, never seen anything like that before. Never seen anything like that again. That was the only time that I've seen. That was one of the only power amplifiers that I've seen with an actual circuit problem. Irrelevant amp repair question, but how much, not exact, do you make on your business? Yeah, so it varies greatly. I don't make that much money, to be fair. In the UK, obviously Great British pounds, I think I take home about 30k a year. I think it's somewhere like that. It does vary obviously year by year, and you know how much work I get coming in every month and stuff, and it varies month by month. But yeah, it's about 30k's a year, which is like, it's sort of, it's not minimum wage, but it's like a couple of steps up the ladder in a low end kind of job place. You know, it's like a assistant manager maybe in some kind of local government or something like that. It's yeah, it's not great, but the thing is though is that I love it and I don't feel like I'm working. So although it's not super lucrative financially, it's extremely lucrative in my freedom. I work for myself, and it's extremely lucrative in my enjoyment. So to me, that's valuable. So yeah. I really want to fix my Hyphonics amp. Got it for €40, and my last issue are the output drive ICs. Interesting. Send me a picture on Bear's Facebook page if you want me to give you a quick hand. I tagged you in a pic of the PW 8K.5 ohm power supply on Facebook. Cool. It'd be interesting to see a video where you say Cab 22 was tested against others. So we don't have car audio bargain in the UK, so I can't do that. Unless somebody wants to send me one from America, I'm not paying for one to be shipped over from the US, unfortunately. But if somebody really wants to see that video, or if car audio bargain Cab want to actually send one over for a video, then I'll do that. But yeah, we don't get them in the UK, so it's not something that I will just come across or I'm easily able to like borrow or purchase over here. Oh guys, I had one fun video idea though. How do you like the sound of this? So obviously I have the Taramps Big Boss 3 here with me right now. Now unfortunately it's not quite as bulletproof as the Big Boss 8 is, just from the quick tests I've done with it just now. But I thought a fun video would be how hard is it to kill a Taramps Big Boss 3? So I've got this one here, it's brand new basically, and I use that amplifier and try everything to get it to die. So wire it to stupidly low impedances, absolutely hard clip the balls out of it for ages, run it on 15 volts, run it on 9 volts, hard clip, not hard clip, 0.25 ohms, getting it really hot, seeing if the thermal protection kicks in and works properly, shorting out the speaker terminals and seeing whether the overcurrent protection kicks in quick enough to save the output FETs, things like that. And obviously I'll be able to repair it, so it wouldn't matter if it died because I'd just be able to fix it, provided I didn't kill the MCU, which is a little bit of a worry, but I'm sure it'll be fine. I thought that could be a fun video. Let me know your thoughts. How hard is it to kill the Big Boss 3? I've got a feeling that would do quite well. Just let it idle without a load. Yeah, amps do not like doing that. It will definitely fail idling without a load for an extended period of time, I reckon. What do you think of the new bass phase team amplifiers? They're the same as this. They're just mostly nonsense, but they have been sold for really, really cheap. So basically, yeah, the bass phase team amplifiers aren't that great, and I generally wouldn't really recommend them. You're not going to get years and years of reliable operation out of them, but they are a lot of power for not a lot of money. So they're kind of just good enough value for me to be like, nah, well, yeah, they are a bit janky, and you might end up needing to pay for a repair at one point in their life, you know, in your ownership. But they're that cheap that if you're only going to use it for a couple of years, you might get lucky and it works and doesn't blow up. And you're going to get a lot of power for not a lot of money. So yeah, it depends on if they're on sale or not, as to how much I would recommend them. I'd say I was going to say the smaller ones probably are a bit better, a bit more reliable, but actually it hasn't worked out that way. The smaller ones seem to die randomly as much as the bigger ones. Stay well the frick away from the Team 15K. That is absolutely awful. That's definitely going to fail within like not very long if you buy one of those. What about those colossal massive MOSFETs that fill the palm of your hand and can handle thousands of amps, thousands of watts? I think you're referring, Realflow, I think you're referring to massive IGBTs, the kinds of things that they're used to drive the motors in like trains, for example. You know, the drive motors on locomotives, trains that do high speeds and stuff like that. They're freaking massive IGBTs. What about them? Why aren't they used for massive high power amplifiers? So basically, there's not really a massive demand for amplifiers between 20 to 100 kilowatts. There really isn't. Even for big PA application, you get up to 15, 20 kilowatts in really, really, really big power stuff. And in those, they are using quite large package IGBTs. But the problem comes, I think, in the convenience. So with PA, for example, the amplifiers need to ideally fit in a rack. It needs to be rack mountable. So they're kind of confined to a space. And you can actually squeeze more power into that kind of U2, U3, U4 space. You can actually squeeze more rated power using more numbers of smaller IGBTs than just using 2 or 3 of those massive great big things. And the costs of using those would make the amplifier way more expensive than just using more parallel smaller IGBTs for not really much benefit. Also, you got to think about as well is well, not even that really, but yeah, I just don't think that they make sense in an audio application as of yet. No one needs that much power really for audio. I mean, I'm sure some crazy guy wants 100,000 watts in his Tahoe or something, and would buy one for 10 grand or whatever. But it's a one-off. I just don't think there's a demand for that kind of thing. What do you think about down for sound amps? Again, I'm in the UK and we don't have down for sound in the UK, so unless someone wants to send me one from the States, I'm not going to know. I'm not going to see one. But down for sound amps are not a bespoke design. They are just a generic, they're a Korean build house kind of blueprint. So they are assembled with really good quality boards and nice quality parts and stuff like that, but they're not a bespoke design. JP hasn't designed his own amp. Don't think that. But they are seemingly a pretty nice, relatively decent build. I think it's the same kind of build house that did the LW audio amplifiers that I distributed over here for quite a while, and they seem to be pretty good apart from the caps. But the actual circuit designs were good. Yeah, exactly. This is very true. 666. Hey, yeah, go away. Smart 3's common cause of death is loose RCAs. Yeah, I've said to Terrams, I said, hey, you need to improve the RCAs, improve the potentiometers, and then things will be a lot better. Realflow's experience in making batteries. That's something that I haven't really dived into much before. what output second drivers did Hyphonics use in the BXI 4K? It's going to be an IRS. No, hang on a minute. Yeah, IRS 21844S. It's the same as every other Korean. IRS 21844S. Cab is just an example. There are tons of boards with that board layout, with varying number of FETs, similar power ratings. Would be cool to see which version is best bang for the buck. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that'd be a cool video. Does DLS, Helix, or any other high quality brands make big power amps? Not that I'm aware of, really. Just trying to think. You've got Hertz made like a massive monster, like a 12K or a 15K years ago. The power wires were like lugs that you bolted in. So yeah, there was that thing from Hertz. I'm just trying to think if there was any other. Obviously you got Rockwood Fosgate made a big amp as well back in the day. None in recent times though that I can think of. Sam, you've been a big help to me since I started repairing amps in my spare time. Probably recognise my name since I've messaged you many times. Garrett, yeah, maybe. Oh, no worries, man. I'm glad that you are finding my advice useful. Who makes the best amps in your opinion? It's not an easy to answer question because it just depends what application you're talking for. Like there isn't one amplifier or one brand that I would say makes the best amplifiers like end game. It depends on what your application is, whether it's SQ, mids and highs, or whether it's like reliable, like sensible amounts of power base, whether it's absolutely as much power as you can without worrying too much about THD and reliability. It's like, you know, there's too many different applications, and one amplifier isn't going to be good for all of those applications. So, however, I am a pretty decent fan of Alpine. So Alpine make all of their circuit designs bespoke from scratch. Alpine as a company they're a kind of circuit design company. Their whole thing is like making circuits, and they make head units, and that's all their own design as well. So Alpine are extremely, their engineers and technicians are extremely knowledgeable and experienced in designing circuits from scratch, very complicated circuits as well, with like data and digital stuff and everything being super optimized and perfect and stuff. And if you've ever looked at an Alpine PCB, it's a bloody, it's like so busy. There's so much going on. It's so complicated. Yeah, they're freaking awesome. Alpine makes some great stuff. I respect that they make all their own stuff as well. It's all bespoke stuff. You do pay a bit for it, but I don't think you pay as much as with some other brands. I mean, don't get me wrong, Alpine do have their super high-end, very expensive lines, but yeah. Right, let's see if any of these gate resistors are open. Okay, yeah, we've got an open gate resistor here. Now, interestingly, the gate resistors that are reading within tolerance, we don't actually need to replace because all of the current only went down a couple of these. We've actually got 1, 2, 3. That one's within tolerance. That one's within tolerance. That one is. Okay, so we've got 4 gate resistors that need replacing. The others are all A-OK within tolerance, with no evidence of being burned or stressed at all. So we're just going to keep those in there. Have you heard of 4X amps? Ridiculously cheap, but are all full bridge designs and they work well. They're probably just Chinese clones of the Sound Digital circuit, the same as Base Phase Team and this kind of thing here, Edge, etc. I'll have a look though. I'll Google some in a minute if you like. We can have a quick peek and I'll tell you what they look like. I never know how you pronounce the company. Mats MMATS. How do you pronounce that? How are you pronouncing that? EMATS? They have released a new line of amplifiers that seems to be being made by Paris. So that's pretty cool. I wonder how they price compared to the Paris amps. I wonder whether they've added, you know, a bit of margin on there. It's funny actually because it's funny that they've done that, because Mats were, you know what? I think that they've actually done that because of me. I was actually speaking with the owner of Mats. I think last year. I was having some phone calls with him about potentially helping them design a circuit, either from scratch or taking a base circuit design and modifying it, optimizing it and stuff like that. And it was all good. It was all sounding great, and then it just kind of didn't go anywhere. It just kind of disappeared. And then sometime later, during these phone calls, I've been saying, yeah, probably the best amps on the market right now are probably the Paris amplifiers. So if we're gonna, you know, take a base circuit design, we're probably gonna take some inspiration from them, do something like that. Yeah, fast forward, whatever it is, a year or something, or 6 months or 10 months, or whatever it is, and Mats have amplifiers made by Paris. So I guess they took my advice, but instead of designing something from scratch, they just commissioned Paris to build amps for them instead. Have you ever heard of someone gutting a Bluetooth amplifier and manually wiring in an aux cable with an on-off switch, bypassing the Bluetooth chip? Probably, it's probably been done before. It shouldn't be too difficult. Yeah, for low-cost SQ, old Alpines, V12s, really nice amplifiers, beautiful sound, and yeah, they're everywhere for super cheap. So yeah, absolutely, budget SQ setup. Have you seen the new Kicker Warhorse? No, I really want them to send me one. Maybe I'll get them to send me one. Maybe I'll message Kicker and see if they want to send one to me to do a comparison. What would I compare it with? I'd either compare it with something that's the same power rating or something that is the same price. For me, it's going to have to be something at the same price. Because, like, what is it? 3K, 3.5K, something like that? And I bet it's expensive. I bet it's like $1,000 or something stupid. The thing is, it will be their own bespoke circuit design, but then again, so is Taramps, so is Paris, so is Sound Digital, so is Banda. That's all their own bespoke circuit designs, and they're not that expensive, so it can be done. It just has to be done in a way where you're building them yourself, and you haven't got like a massive chain of distributor, dealer, shop markups along the way, middlemen with a markup every way. You should have gotten some kind of compensation with the advice. Maybe, but it's whatever. It's not exactly as if that information or that advice that I was giving wasn't out there on the internet for everyone to see for free. Like, I've done enough videos and I talk about Paris enough as it is. If anything, Paris should bloody well send me a check, and Taramps for that matter, probably, because I've probably swayed a decent percentage of the basshead community into trusting some of these Brazilian manufacturers and giving them a go. But I do what I do, and I say what I say, not because I'm expecting anything back from them. It's because I want you guys, I want the bass heads of the world to get the most for their money. Nothing pees me off anymore than seeing someone spend $1,000 on a 3K and only getting 40% the output that they could have been getting, or the experience. You know, bass heads, man, we love bass. You want the most bass you can get? Freaking don't buy a 3K for $1,000. Buy a 3K for like $250. Or don't buy a 3K for $250. Yeah, buy a 3K for $250. Spend the rest of the money on power supply upgrades or something else. Take your guy out to dinner, or take that $1,000 and buy a 15K. Fuck. Right, where's my 10 ohm resistors, guys? I think I might have run out, actually. That would be a shame. Have I run out of 10 ohm resistors? I'm really bad with keeping stocked. Like, I'll buy like 1 million of a resistor number, and then I'll use them, and I won't like be aware that I'm running low, and I'll be like, ah, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine, and then I'll come to need them, and I'll be like, ah, wait, I've run out. Yeah, I think I'm fresh out of 10s. That's a pain in the butt. Oh wait, no, I've got some here. Well, how many have I got? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got 7 10 ohm resistors left, guys. Remind me later on the stream to buy some 10 ohms. I need 4 for this amp. 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Buy some more 10 ohms. Buy some more 10 ohm gates. Resistors. In the future, I'd like some Alpine subs. Some Type Rs can be had here. Yeah, the Type Rs are really nice subs. They actually sound fantastic. They continue to play up into much higher frequencies with decent response and without absolutely cooking the coils at higher frequencies than a lot of other subs. They play up nicely. They're very musical subs, but don't stress them mechanically. Where the tinsel lead joins to the coil isn't the strongest connection, so keep the mechanical limits within check, and the Alpines will do well. What's the biggest, baddest, most power hungry and loudest kicker sub ever recorded in history recently? Kicker sub? Or just sub in general? Do you mean kicker specifically? At least have some kind of deal where they just send new amps out to when they come out. Yeah, I mean, Taramps have been pretty good. Like, Taramps have sent me amps for review, but they haven't sent them to me with the expectation of a good review. And you'll know if you saw my review of their head unit, then you'll know that my reviews are completely impartial. Like, just because I like Taramps and I respect a lot of what they're doing doesn't mean that I'm gonna sugarcoat a product that they release. Their head unit had great potential, but in its current form is rubbish, and I wouldn't recommend it to anyone really. Maybe it's like a boombox head like player. Like if you got a if you just put it together a little boombox or something, then it's actually going to be pretty good for that. Just because of how the EQ curve is, it's kind of fun sounding, and you don't need super high quality Bluetooth connectivity for that, etc. And you just need one input, it's fine. But as the main head of a car audio system, not really into that. Maybe for something really basic, but it wasn't great, and I made it known that it wasn't great. So just because I like a company or have respect for a company or have said good things about them in the past doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. Everything's done on a case-by-case basis. So yeah, I'm not going to lie, it would be great if more companies did send stuff in, because then I'd be able to do more kind of comparisons and reviews for you guys. But I'm not really in a position where, you know, my reviews and videos don't make enough money to warrant me spending hundreds of pounds on getting specific amplifier makes and models shipped over from the States, or even just from the UK really, for me to purchase. If I've got an amplifier in for repair, then obviously I'll do some maybe do a video about it, do a repair video, go over it, talk about it. I actually made a video recently on the new Alpine amplifiers, some of the new Alpine PDX stuff, and that was someone just very kindly lent me the amplifiers for me to make a video of. So that's really the only way I can do it. I'm not really in a position where I can be buying them for content at the moment. I know Derek does. Derek buys amps a lot of the time from Amazon for his amp dyno videos, which is cool. His videos make enough money that he can do that. but unfortunately mine don't. Now where did that last 10 ohm resistor go? We've only got like a few left, so every little helps, every one counts. There it is. So we have some hat cam. We haven't had much hat cam this evening, have we? The only thing with the hat cam is that it's a little bit too zoomed out. Do you know what I mean? It's not high resolution enough for me to be able to crop in and have a nice crisp clean image for you, and it would be probably too shaky as well. She found out about your channel from Derek. Oh, that's good. I'm glad that some traffic is coming my way from his channel. That's kind of cool. I really like the old CVR 18s. I don't think I ever really saw those. How much headroom in watts do you recommend for a bass amp? I have a bit of a controversial take on that. My take on that is to buy the biggest rated amplifier that you can for your budget. You don't even have to. Right, this is for users that know what they're doing and that aren't stupid. Okay, if you are a little bit experienced, you know what you're doing, you're not stupid, and you know the limits of your system. You know the 4 limits. I'm gonna make a video about it. By the way, I've been trying to make a video about this like for a while. It's kind of like the 4 commandments of car audio, or the 4 limits basically. If you adhere to the 4 limits, then you're going to be fine, and you will always hit one of these 4 limits forever. It doesn't matter how much you upgrade. So your 4 limits with a subwoofer setup are woofer thermal, woofer mechanical, amplifier clip, and supply voltage. They're your 4 limits. So you're going to be hitting one of them no matter what your setup is. Everyone's setup is going to be hitting one of these limits, and obviously in the perfect scenario in terms of value for money, all 4 of those will probably be hit at around about the same time, because that means that you haven't overspent on any one of those things unnecessarily. So if you're asking me how much headroom to buy with your amplifier, I would say buy the biggest amplifier you can for your money, because that means that you're never going to be hitting amplifier clip limit ever. That's not a limit you have to worry about. So all of a sudden your limits you have to worry about has just gone down to 3. By buying a bigger amplifier than you need, also the amplifier is going to be stupidly efficient, because it's going to be running at like a fraction of its designed power. So it's going to be very efficient. So that means that you will not hit your power supply limit as soon. So you can kind of halve that one. So that means that your limits are going to be woofer thermal, woofer mechanical, and eventually you're going to reach obviously your power supply limit in the vehicle. So by having an amplifier that's as big as you can afford, you just make sure that you're well away from hard clip limit. Amplifier's going to last forever. It's going to be stupidly efficient. It's never going to get hot. It's just going to play and be wicked, and you haven't got to worry about it. So that's what I'd recommend. Obviously, don't go shouting that from the pews to everyone and their dog who's into car audio, because you don't want my man down the street like buying a 15k on a stock power supply and just cranking everything because it's going to blow. So if you know what you're doing, then that's what I'd recommend. It needs image stabilization. It does actually have some image stabilization a little bit, but like it's not great. It has a little bit. It would be a lot more wobbly than this if it didn't have any, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's just a webcam. To appeal to the masses. Yeah, maybe. I'm just not sure what that content would kind of look like. To be fair, I think that's why Boom or Bust didn't do as well as I hoped. It was probably just too technical. For a start, I imagine a lot of people didn't really understand the concept that it was scaled everything was scaled, and they didn't understand how that worked. Probably people would just click on the video expecting it to be like a little Bluetooth speaker, or for that actual speaker to be playing those low frequencies and me testing them about. Like, it takes a little bit of intelligence and a little bit of IQ to comprehend how the scaling works, and that it does work, and what was actually going on. And then also the videos were me talking about the freaking impedance curve and talking about the THD and all. It was great for an enthusiast and someone that's really into it, but it probably wasn't really for the masses. Please do some videos on just blasting some subs. Well, I did a video, free air excursion of my Pioneer 12s. That didn't do too well. I mean, that wasn't really like a super fun video. That was just like a nice cinematic video of some nice old school subs. But yeah, it didn't really do too well. But I wasn't expecting it to. I just put that up for the old guys. So anyway, with this amp that we're looking at, did the power supply fail because we have a shorted output FET? Usually that's the case. These are stamped with H9. Oh. Do we just have an isolated power supply failure? Ah, that's weird. That's pretty uncommon. So either we have reverse polarity, someone connected backwards. Actually, did he say that's what he did? I'm not even sure. No, I think he said it was just low volume. So we either have, I don't think it's a reverse polarity. We might have, looking at the state of these transformers, yeah, we might have a shorted transformer wind cooking up in here, or the amplifier was just overdriven and the power supply failed first, which is uncommon but possible. But just looking at how these are wiggling, I wouldn't be surprised if we have some shorted winds in there. Alright, cool, let's get some power into the board and let's just see whether we have a dead driver or not. What kind of music is everyone into here? I grew up as a metalhead. I grew up as a like really into rock music, and only in sort of later teenage years I got into sort of more electronic music. Drum and bass specifically was one of the first introductions to electronic music that I really liked. Like jungle, like kind of Aphrodite and stuff like that, Mickey Finn and that kind of thing. I really loved a band called Element 80, which were based in Texas. Element 80 aren't a big band, barely anyone bloody knows of them. And if you might recognise one of their songs if you ever played Need for Speed Underground. They had a song on Need for Speed Underground 1, Broken Promises, which is a freaking banger. But they stopped making music in 2012, and which is sad because they only released like a couple of albums. But then all of a sudden, last year, July 2023, they freaking released a new album. They got back together, and it goes hard, man. It sounds amazing. It sounds great. They sound exactly the same as well, which is crazy. Like 12 years later, whatever it is. 12 years, what is it? Yeah, 12 years later, they sound exactly the same, and the production quality is as good as it was, if not better. I'm just like pretty pumped about that. I've been listening to them all day long. Alright, so we don't have any parasitic current draw, which is a good sign, because often if you've got a really bad failed driver, then you can have this parasitic draw. Whoa, parasitic draw. There was a bit of a spark. I just heard a sparky sound there. Interesting. Maybe it was just a little bit of solder on the bench. Oh, no, wait, yeah, we do have this transformer sounding a bit sparky. Let's turn the current down a bit. Yeah, we are, what have we got? 2 amps going in there? Whoa, okay. Well, there we go. We do indeed have a shorted transformer. And what's interesting is that it's actually giving us these sparks without even any FETs or switching. So that means that we must have a short from the 12 volt wind to a trace on the board for ground, perhaps, because the transformer doesn't have ground on it. None of these winds are ground. The transformer just has the 12 volts on it, and then it gets sent to ground through the FET. So if we are getting some kind of arcing to ground on the transformer like this, then that must mean that it's shorting to the board on a ground trace perhaps. I've turned the voltage down to like 1.7 amps here. I just want to try and get that to arc again, but without quite as high a voltage there, just so we don't get a big spark. I can't get it to do it again now. Okay, well either way, we're going to have to pull this, and we know that it's shorting to the main board, because a shorted wind wouldn't do that. So, yeah, cool. Let's get this thing removed. Now, the thermal mass on these traces isn't that high. I don't think we're going to have to bust out the massive soldering iron. I think we can probably just use my small AOUA one. Did you ever repair an MTX Thunder 7801? Possibly. Let me have a quick look at that. MTX Thunder 7801. Let's see, did I ever do a repair on these? Oh yes, possibly. Oh yes, I have indeed done a repair on these many times. Yeah, I know quite a few common issues with these, I think, by now. Yep, definitely done those. Red King, hey, what's up? Sorry for late for the stream. No worries, man. I'd love to have an update on the Camco. I did give an update on the Camco, so if you're watching, if you're behind in the stream, then you'll get to the point where I talked about that, hopefully. I bought my power samples based off your review and a local person's review and testing. How's it been for you? Have they been doing you well? Hopefully they have, Mr. N. I like hard style, raw style, but also 50/60s. So interesting. I'm not a fan of hard style and raw style, like the really kind of fast-paced bow 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 stuff. But I can appreciate it's probably very fun in the right atmosphere. I just want you to be irresponsible. I was never irresponsible. I never blew subs up for fun. You noticed that. I was never one of those channels. I have a B2 right at 10 inch. Yeah, man, great sub that. Yeah, big fan of the B2 subs. Freaking awesome. Although I've not been too impressed with their the ruggedness of their soft parts and their connection points. So provided you don't overdrive it, provided you don't get it at its limits mechanically all the time, it's gonna sound great. Freaking lovely sub. But yeah, and just set the gain to match the subwoofer RMS power. This is talking back to my recommendation on buying the biggest amplifier that you can. So yeah, set what you would do in that instance where you've got basically an unlimited amount of rated power on your amplifier is you would just increase the gain or whatever you like until one of those other three limits is reached. So you keep increasing the level on the bass amplifier, obviously either to your taste, you know, until the bass is too much and you're like, nah, that's too much. But if bass is never too much, which it never is, then you just keep increasing the level until you reach one of those other three limits. Either you reach power supply limit, voltage drops too much, or you reach the thermal limit of your sub, it starts overheating a bit, starts smelling, or you start noticing it's a bit warm, then obviously go back a bit on the gain, or you reach the mechanical limit of your sub and it's moving too much, and obviously that's your limit. So that's how you set the gain in that instance. I listen to a bit of everything. For bass stuff, I mainly listen to bass nectar, but anything Flowdown. Really like death metal, nice. I listen to a bit of everything. Most people I tend to find, especially like most people in my community here that watch my videos, just tend to listen to a whole range of music. There's a big range of music, big range of tastes in this kind of community, I think. David Nelson's just jumped in the chat. Bleeding from the ears. What's up, my bro? You good? How do you rewind these transformers? Yeah, you just unwind them and count the winds as you go. And then, yeah, just buy some new copper wire that's the right thickness. parallel it up and rewind it with the same number of turns. And then it's useful to have an inductance meter to confirm that once you've rewound it, the inductance is the same as a good example. What was that comment about, David? Bleeding from the ears. What are you talking about? I think I should have got the big soldering iron out for this. It's just catching a little bit more than I wanted it to. I thought I could get away with the nice small one that heats up quickly. Let's see how that goes. Let's do this next one. I have a big ass 18-inch Pro subwoofer that I want to use in my car for fun. Looking for some 1 kilowatt 8 ohm car amp. They're hard to find. Is it a single 8 ohm coil? That's a pain in the butt. Yeah, that kind of sucks. Any car amp's going to do absolutely bugger all power at 8 ohms. Your best option might be to... There's been a few Brazilian amps that are 4 ohm models. Banda had a 4 ohm, I think it was a ICE amplifier that was a 4 ohm model, which obviously you'd get half the power from. But yeah, otherwise you're just going to be spending a lot of money on something that's rated for a loss of power at like 2 ohms and using like a quarter of it. I heard you say stay away from Team 15K, didn't hear why. A friend of mine has three that has died for him, but not when he's beating on them, but on low volume. Why do you think that is? I didn't say I told you so. I told you they will just blow whenever they like. So the problem with the 15Ks, it's not that they aren't built strong enough to do their rated power. They are. All the components in there are capable of doing 15K. The problem is the amplifier is so poorly optimized. And it's run, all the voltages inside are run so close to their limit that, yeah, the output FETs, especially the high side, just explode for no reason. It's because they're run too close to their voltage limit, and the drive to them is not stable enough, and the circuit isn't optimized enough in terms of the driver positioning and the ringing on the gate paths. It's a really terribly optimized amplifier. So yeah, they just die running low volume or when you first turn them on or whatever. It's just a bloody nightmare. I think we're going to have to get the big soldering iron out, because I don't think this little one's going to cut it. Just doesn't quite have the thermal mass. I mean, it is melting that, but it just... I think what a solution, this is a little tip, if you're ever trying to solder something that's big and high thermal mass like that and you don't have a really big soldering iron, one tip is grab a heat gun, just cook the board and get it really preheated, get it nice and hot, and it'll make your life a lot easier. I wish that I could play music on the stream. I wish that I could play music and still be monetized. But because we could all listen to some tunes together, couldn't we? We could all fucking share music and be like, yo, listen to this, listen to this. Just while I'm doing soldering and that, that'd be really fun. I mean, I could. There's nothing. I mean, there's nothing wrong with like. I think if I played music, I would just get demonetized and that's it. I don't know if the stream would be blocked in certain countries. That would suck, depending on what music we were playing. Oh, guys, I'm running a slightly risky subwoofer setup in the workshop at the moment. So I don't know if many of you will have seen before, actually, but because I only made it as a TikToker, not many people are on TikTok. I'm not really on TikTok either. I just make videos on there. I don't actually watch any of the crap on there. But anyway, my Digital Designs 1506, which is the tiny little ESP monster, monstrous little 6.5 inch. Just for a bit of fun, I decided to see what that would sound like in a passive radiator box. So I had an old prefab 12-inch box laying around that I was just going to chuck. So I've got a prefab 12-inch sealed box, and I've taken an Edge subwoofer, which is something here in the UK. It's like a cheap Chinese sub with a big surround. Completely stripped it down because it had a blown voice coil. And I've turned that into a passive radiator. And I've cut a hole in the side of the prefab box to mount the 6.5 inch. So I've got the 6.5 inch DD with a 12-inch passive radiator, which is a very big size difference for active driver versus passive rad. Usually you go one size up or maybe two sizes up if you've got a stout driver with a lot of mechanical limit. But I just thought, you know what would this be like with a 12-inch passive radiator? And you know what? It sounds freaking insane. It sounds incredible. It's pretty loud for a 6.5 inch. It plays monstrously low. It's very hard often to get small drivers to play low, because trying to build a ported box for a 6.5 inch to hit like 26 hertz, for example, you end up with a bit of a catch-22 situation where you're making the box bigger so that the box is tuned lower for a given port length, and then or you're making the port longer so it's tuned lower, but then because you're making it longer, the box is getting smaller, therefore it's getting tuned higher. So it actually becomes quite difficult to build a decent, sensible box for a small driver like that that's tuned very low. So your options really then are passive radiator, like I've done, which is great because you can just tune the passive rad to whatever you like. It's not limited, it doesn't have anything to do with the box volume as such. Or you're looking at a quarter wave, which is a massive size of enclosure, which kind of defeats the point of having a small driver. So yeah, passive radiator, I thought, what's this going to sound like? And it's actually freaking awesome. But anyway, going back to my risky sub setup in the workshop, I'm using one of my old Inova Pro PA amplifiers, which is I think it's 8 ohm bridge is the minimum, and 4 ohm per channel, and it's a class AB. Now what I've done is I've bridged it. Now the sub is a dual tube, so I've got it bridged at 4 ohm, which is lower than it should be. I've opened up the amplifier and turned the bias all the way down. So basically it's a class B amplifier now. It's not really got much class AB overlap, but this doesn't really matter for those low subwoofer frequencies on the scope, and there's no visible overlap or crossover distortion or anything like that, and it sounds exactly fine. So I've done that to get rid of some heat from the output section, and also I've disconnected the fans because they're bloody loud as fuck. So I'm running a fanless class B wired to half lower than it should be. It's been fine so far. It gets a little warm, but it's never gone into thermal protect yet, and I don't push it too hard. It's only a little 6.5. Edge subs are good. They're not really, are they? They're not really though. They might be okay for the money, especially if you get one second hand, but they're not really that great. Yeah, this is like the ground trace or something. This is like the freaking turbo trace. I can't get that one away, so we're gonna have to see whether we can just pull that one up. Let's see, if we can just get the transformer disconnected from this side. It's got glue on the top, you see, so we're going to have to cook that up a little bit. get that one pulled off on this side, and then we can just walk it off. Walk it out. That was a tune I used to bang back in the day. Walk it out. Was it DJ? Was it Unk? Now walk it out. Now walk it out. Another one was Two Step. That was Unk, wasn't it? I think. Two Step. Two Step. Now watch me two step. Do, do, do. I quite like the bass line on Walk It Out actually, because well, the bass line did walk. It walked lower and lower. Started off quite high. It did octaves. It did alternating octaves, high octave and then low octave for each note. Da, da, do, do. So interestingly, the Edge subs don't have much X-Max. They really don't have much X-Max. They look like they should, but the problem is people confuse X-Mac and X-Mech. So if you look at the Edge subs, they have a massive surround, okay? But X-Max has to do with how much of the coil is still in the magnetic field at different, as you go up on the excursion range. And the Edge subs don't have a very long voice coil. So actually what happens is they don't have very high X-Max. They might have reasonable X-Mech mechanical limit, but the surround is much bigger than the Spider allows for. So you never actually really get to use all of that potential stretch in the big surround. It would be better if the Edges had a smaller surround and increased the rigid cone area. Then they'd probably be a bit louder. The Edges also don't really have a great Spider. The coil's not that great. It's pretty short. It overheats quite a lot, especially at the bottom when you start pushing it. And they're not built very well either. The coils are often a little bit off-centered, but they're okay for the money. If you get a good one and you don't expect too much out of it, they're okay. 666 with a 9.99. Thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. Great content. Love listening or watching while I work on stuff, man. Thank you very much, man. I'm really glad that you're enjoying it. I'm enjoying having you all here, honestly. X-Mech is former slapping into the yoke. Yeah, trust. What's your opinion on very compact amps like the Sound Digital Evo 6 line? Sound Digital have fallen off. They've fallen off. Their small compact amps are nonsense. I think I did a video, I did a TikTok on the one of the Evo 5 or Evo 6, one of the little 4-channel Class D things. Really bad PCB design in how the daughter boards are mounted, and they seem to die quite often, and they have massively high floor noise, unnecessarily high amounts of floor noise. The little Taramps DS series or the TS series don't really have much floor noise, but yeah, the Sound Digital was like it's like what? Who remembers that track that's like, put me in the freezer cause I'm so icy? That was a good one. So less coil size and taller coils would be okay formula. You want to. There's a balancing act. So going for a smaller diameter coil will just limit your power handling, okay? Which obviously will mean that you aren't necessarily able to drive it that far before it overheats thermally. But longer voice coils will result in higher moving mass, which is bad for efficiency and bad for higher frequencies, but is great for lower frequencies and keeping a linear movement and keeping a good sound and low THD while moving a lot. And you need to combine that with a wide spider that again doesn't impede too much on the movement of the cone, doesn't restrict it, and doesn't cause harmonics and distortions from stretching and maxing out. So Digital Designs subwoofers, their ESP or whatever line of subs that they do now, have two of the things going for them. They have really good spiders, massive spiders, they have loads of cone area while still having a surround that allows for ridiculous amounts of excursion. Their high roll ribbed surround is freaking amazing. You get a massive rigid cone area with massive amounts of mechanical excursion allowed by that surround. So they've got the spider, they've got the surround, but their coils have barely changed in size since the old days. They're still like very, very thin. So basically you can see on one of my videos of the excursion of the 3510 at X-Mech, the coil is not only just a little bit far outside of the BL curve, you can see the bottom of the coil come out the freaking gap. That's how bad it is. Anyway, the transformer is removed, and as you can see, we have a smiley face. There's a little Easter egg for you. Edge put a little smiley face on there so that they knew that the repair technician that's ultimately going to be repairing this, because it's a pile of junk, gets a little smiley face. Love to see it. Anyway, where was this transformer arcing to then? Let's have a look, see if we can see any evidence on the PCB of arcing. I was struggling to kind of see really where it was coming from, but it was definitely happening to the main board because it was going to ground. And the only place that there's ground is on the main board. So let's see, where is there a ground trace? Where is there a ground trace? We've got a ground trace here. Turn that off for a minute. So obviously we've got ground trace here. Now, is there a ground trace near? Here we go. There's a ground trace there. And also here, no, here? Oh no, that's not ground, that's 12 volts. Okay. Where's ground then? Where was it shorting to? We had sparks flying, didn't we? Where was it shorting to, guys? Any of these little capacitors up here, maybe? No, that's just 12 volts again. Huh. So it won't be a shorted wind because the wind has 12 volts on it. All of the winds have 12 volts. All the primaries have 12 volts on it. Ah, you know what it might have been? It might have been a primary shorting to the secondary. That might have caused a spark. That's maybe what it was. So let's see if we pull this apart a bit. Can we see any... Actually, I'm getting a little bit of deinterlacing lines here, guys. Can you see that? Got some deinterlacing artifacting. Let's see if I can just clear that up for you. Let's go filters. Deinterlace. Oh yeah, I've got it disabled for some reason. Usually I go for, is it linear? Yeah, linear looks okay. Or how about linear times 2? Oh yeah, linear times 2 is good. There we go. Meter camera is upside down or something. Oh really? Let's have a look at that. Oh yeah, what the heck? It's upside down, bro. Alright, rotate, flip vertical. There we go, that's better. Gonna need to do that on the hat cam as well. That's better. So yeah, I think probably we have a short between primary and secondary, but unfortunately this short wasn't there all the time. So it might be kind of hard for me to locate it. You know, don't think it's going to be just easily here. That's the primaries. So we're going to have to go looking for it visually, I think. It's probably gonna, if it's gonna be anywhere, it's gonna be where they're a bit loose. Loosey goosey. These are very loose. could be there on that edge. Yeah, I think what we're gonna have to do is probably mount it back in and then wiggle jiggle and see if we can see where the spark's coming from. Because I'm not particularly in the mood for unwinding this whole thing when it's just going to be something we can very easily and quickly isolate. Yeah, let's mount it back in and let's see if we can see where it's coming from, and we can probably isolate it just being in the board. But yeah, weird how it looked like it was actually, that kind of makes sense because I was a bit confused. Do you remember when it was sparking and it was like arcing on there? I didn't actually notice the power supply constant current light flash up, which usually would happen obviously if we had a short to ground. But if it was just a short to the secondary, then it might have been kind of charging the output rails a little bit, and it might not have actually triggered the overcurrent on my power supply. Maybe. Anyway. Right, let's see if we can get this back in then. It's a little bit all over the place, but well, that one there, that one there. Real flow, yeah, exactly. I didn't see that either. So that's kind of what's making me wonder whether it was actually arcing to the secondary. Yeah, I've rewound plenty of transformers. I just don't really fancy doing it to this one because this is honestly a really cheap kind of junky amplifier. So if I'm going to rewind the transformer, then the repair is probably going to be costing more than the customer wants to pay. So, I see a question. I see a question. Sam, what would you buy? What amplifier would you buy from AliExpress? I think I saw that one somewhere. Sundown 15-inch sub with a cone area of an 8-inch. Currently working on a boombox, and I found an 8-inch sub specifically designed for sealed application, but invented 20-litre enclosure to replace flat to 30 hertz before the group delay skyrockets. Nice, man, that's pretty cool. Hi, I'm Connie's friend who has fried 3 times base for 1815K. Bob wob. Should I just switch the amps to another brand? Yes. Yes. Get them fixed, probably, if you can. Sell them on while they work. Switch to Paris. Get a couple of Paris PW15Ks, bro. And you won't have any more problems. Alright, hopefully I got that right. Plug that sucker into the wall outlet. I have two old Hyphonics Thor 567 amplifiers that power up into protection mode. Are they worth fixing? Yeah, maybe. Depends where you're based and if there's someone in your country that can repair them to a high standard. Yeah, it'll probably just be output section failures. Surely the carbonated area is where the fault will be. No, surprisingly. So the blackened area of the of this transformer is not actually where the issue probably is. That area is just got covered in soot from the power supply MOSFETs exploding. That's right by them. See that? MOSFETs that exploded right here. That's where all the soot is. The problem is unlikely to be there. No, dude. This is not the fix. Magnus, it's an easy fix. Apparently, one output transistor and one Zener diode. They're not fixed. If they come back to you like that, they're not fixed. They need all of the output MOSFETs, at least in the bank of the one that failed replacing, and the 4148 diodes that are parallel with the gate resistors all need checking on that side that failed, and the 15 volt Zener that is across gate and source needs checking. You can't measure them in circuit, unfortunately. You have to lift those diodes that are by the FETs off one of their pads and measure them. Definitely tell your guy to measure them on the FET location where that FET failed. But if you have a failed high side FET, now I know it's going to be a high side FET because it always is on those amps, then he needs to replace all of those high side FETs. Ideally, he needs to replace all of the FETs on that one half of the amplifier, because the replacements that he fits are going to be slightly different tolerances, and the amplifier is not going to last more than like a week, probably. You might get lucky, the tolerances might just work out and it's fine, but especially if he just replaces one, it's not going to be good. It's not going to last. I mean, if you're planning to sell it on, then obviously it's not necessarily your problem, but at the end of the day, you are going to be selling an amplifier that you know has not been repaired properly to a high standard. And you might end up with the person that you sold it to coming back to you saying, hey, this amp lasted like fucking 2 days, what's going on? Oh, so that's why I fried the one I fixed instantly then. Yep, pretty much. Those amplifiers need a very specific repair procedure. Ideally, the best repair procedure would actually be to change all of the output FETs for something better that's rated for a higher voltage, that's rated for 300 volts, because then they last a bit longer. I have fitted some of those amplifiers with IRF P4229s, which are a 300 volt rated part, and it lasted a lot longer than it did with the 4227s, which are only 200 volt rated and are literally run right on their limit. G. Andrews, Flaming D Productions, yo. Man, that's a throwback. Jesus. I think that's like what I had released for Basshead Anthem. Why does it happen on low volume only, never on full tilt? So when the amplifier is running full tilt, the rail voltage is actually lower, because when you're running the amplifier full tilt, the rail voltage sags down, like voltage drop across the output rails. And when the output rails are lower, the amplifier is less likely to fail, because it fails because everything's too close to its voltage limit. So only when the amplifier is idling or playing low volume, the rail voltage is like really high at its limit, and that's when something just trips and it just fails. Ow, ow, ow. That's too hot to hold, that is. But it's fine. It's a secondary anyway. So let's go and put the other primaries back in. I have Basshead Anthem on my main USB stick still. That's cool, man. I don't know how's it aged. How's Basshead Anthem aged? The instrumental goes hard for me. Like, I'm quite proud of making that instrumental. Like, I was never super great at music production, but I think that instrumental went pretty hard. I'm never satisfied with the vocals, because I don't have the voice for that. I'm not the voice of the rapping, of the music, of the singing, of anything. So the vocals aren't great. But I think with someone decent doing the vocals, that song could slap. Maybe it should get remade, like with a better production and a different, slightly updated instrumental that works with the vibe of today's music. Alright, so let's see whether we have any sparking or arcing. We didn't really find the point that it was it failed on, but obviously we've removed it, and we've moved it around a lot, so we might have just got lucky in that we isolated whatever was arcing. So let's keep an eye on the power supply CC LED. Nope, let's turn the voltage up a little bit. So I think wherever the short was, wherever the arcing was, we seem to have isolated it. So if we glue this transformer in this exact position, then we're not going to be having any more problems, I don't think. I mean, yeah, like There's not much more I can do than that, really, is there? So let's just see whether we have any drive. We don't know if the drive circuit's survived yet or not, because that's what we were just testing for when we first put some power into it. So let's probe the gate over here. Okay, why do we have that waveform on the gate? What's that all about? What? Oh, that's good because my ground wires come off of the power supply. That's fine. So let's just DC couple the scope and turn the voltage a bit there and go up to about 10 reject low frequency. Okay, let's see if we have any drive. Okay, well, we have 5.3 volts RMS on that bank and 5.4 volts RMS. Oh yeah, we've gone up to 5.4 volts now. Yeah, looks like we have equal drive across all banks. So the driver is A-OK. Excellent. So we just need new FETs now. Yeah, Salt's Korean. There aren't any American amplifiers anymore that I'm aware of that are fully made in America. Digital Designs, no. Sundown, no. I'm not aware of any amps that are actually built in America. Some of them might be designed in America, but they're not really any that I know of. Maybe Rockford Fosgate. You need to measure the inductor and isolate which winding is causing the arc. Nope. The arc was very intermittent and it wasn't present when we removed the transformer, so measuring the inductance wouldn't have helped because it wouldn't have told us anything, because the arc on the short wasn't present for like 99.9% of the time. It was only present when I moved it in just the right position initially, but then I couldn't get to do it again. So, what's going on, Jerry? How's it going, man? Good to see you, buddy. The new Warhorse was designed in America. Yes, it was. That's right. Yeah, actually, a lot of the kicker amplifiers, even some of the smaller ones from recent years, I believe, have been designed in America. Yes, but not built in America. But designed in America. I actually don't know if I'd want the amplifier to be built in America, because the build houses in like Korea and China and stuff like that are actually bloody amazing. And America's not super known for its PCB building skills that I'm aware of, so I don't mind that it's not built in America, personally. How's life and that? Yeah, man, all good. All good, bro. You watched that EMF video. Oh, sorry for the stupid question, but do Brazilian amps put rings on voice coils? No, they don't. I actually debunked that video already. If you want to see my response to EMF's video about that, you can check my video where I explain what he was actually seeing on his oscilloscope and why it was not what he thought he was seeing. He just didn't know how to use his oscilloscope. And he was also just trying to push the sales of his own amplifiers by trash talking another brand with misinformation. Alright, what were you saying then? Some new power supply FETs for your ass? Are we all good in the holes? Yeah, I think we're good. Oh guys, actually, you know what I've got to do a video of? I built a new subwoofer for my lounge. Ha! I need to show you that actually. What I will do, how can I show you? I'll email myself the photo. No, actually, I'll just show you on my phone screen here. I built a new sub for my lounge, and you're going to love it, I think, especially if you've been watching the channel for a long time. Scroll, scroll, scroll. Here we go. Right, so we're gonna go a long ways there. Yeah, okay, so guys, this is the new subwoofer I built for my lounge. You can see I'm building it in the garden. It's Pioneer. But then, oh, it's got 2 holes in it. Oh. Oh, what's that? Now, those on the phone, they look like 3004 SPLs. They're actually not. These are the 10-inch versions. These are the 2504, I think they are. Yeah. TSW, whatever it is. Yeah, TSW 2504 SPL. These are the 10-inch versions. And I've got dual 10s in a ported box tuned to... What did I tune it to? 26 or something? It plays flat to about 19. And it plays up as well, just due to how I've done the port. But there we go, there it is in my lounge. And it freaking gets down. I'll make some videos of it. It flexes my whole house up like crazy. Really, really nice. I need to finish it, I need to paint it and everything, but yeah. Fortunately, my house is detached, so I don't have any neighbours that will be affected by this. It's one of the reasons I went for a detached house. I was like, nah man, I ain't dealing with neighbours. Still using the 12 for home theatre? No, so that picture I just showed you, that is my home theatre. Using the 210s. I have the 12s. I've got 3 of the 12s now. The Pioneer TSW 121 SPLs. I've got 3 of those, and those are going to go in the Proton. Going to do a nice build for the Proton with 3 12s, if I can make them fit, and that'll be pretty nice. J&M, one of my favourite channels on YouTube. Man, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Thoughts on Blam Audio? Not really sure. Not really seen much of them in the UK, to be honest. Don't think I've ever had any of their stuff in for repair. So can't really comment, I'm afraid. G. Andrews says, I still have neighbours installed. Fuck. F's in the chat for G. Andrews. What are you driving the 10s with? The 10s are, that's a good question actually. The 10s are being driven by an Australian monitor. I don't know the model of it. I picked up a beautiful lateral MOSFET, Aussie monitor, Australian monitor, THX certified. It's like a proper nice amp. It's like an old, big old heavy amplifier that would have been used in like mega high-end cinemas for driving subs and stuff, probably also full range. It's a lateral MOSFET with a high bias. I've actually knocked the bias down because it was getting really hot, because they run hot because they're really high biased. So it's biased quite high into class A usually, but I've knocked that down a bit because I'm running subs. Yeah, lateral MOSFET using massive TO3 output transistors, THX certified, super low THD, absolutely zero floor noise, really freaking nice amplifier. Power ratings, I can't remember exactly how much power it makes, but I'll see if I can bring the model up in a bit. I think it's about 1.5K. maybe 1.8k, maybe even knocking on for 2k. I'm not sure. I don't think it's quite 2k. I think it's probably like 1.5k or something like that. Transistor number 3 from the right is too far out. This one, yeah, you're right, actually. Good spot. It is a little far out, isn't it? Far out. That's what Australians say. My house is detached, but my neighbour complained my base vehicle. Oh, well, yeah. Obviously, if you're going to play your base vehicle, then it doesn't matter if you're detached or not. The whole street's going to moan at you. But from within your own house, a couple of tens on about a K, not going crazy all day long, you're going to be fine. What's your thoughts on the new Sony mobile ES amplifiers? You know what, guys? I think it's about time that I actually started buying amplifiers and products to do YouTube reviews of them. I think that's probably how I grow my channel a bit. I think that's probably the way forward, because you guys always ask me, oh, hey, Sam, what do you think of this? What do you think of this? What do you think of this? And a lot of the time, I just say, I don't know. We don't get them in the UK. So I haven't ever seen one, or I'm not sure because I've never had one in for repair before. So maybe the way that I grow my channel is I buy like current interesting products that are being released from Sony, from JP, from bloody Cab, whatever it is that people want to see reviews on. And I just review them and then sell them on afterwards at a loss, hoping that I make up the money in the video. And then hopefully that's how I grow my channel a bit. Maybe that's the way. Obviously, it'd be nice if I could approach the manufacturers first and say, hey, I'm going to be doing a video on your product. Do you want to send it in for free? But a lot of the time, they probably will say no. I'd watch a channel that blew up cheap amps. Yeah, that sounds like fun. Sounds expensive. Although if they're cheap amps, I suppose it's not a big deal. Only 1k. Surprised man calls himself a bass head. Yeah, true, but indoors, 1 kilowatt indoors is pretty monstrous. Even a few hundred watts indoors is like a lot. You don't need a lot of power for indoors, but I'm not trying to be Simovo2 out here with like whether he's got 143 dBs in a room or something crazy. Big power thing. But I do have the van, which has got essentially 20k. It's a 10k amp at 0.5. Alright, it's a 10k, but it's at 0.5, so it's trying to make 20k. I'd just like to point out, guys, the stream has been running smoothly AF this evening. No cameras cutting out, stream hasn't dropped out, no multimeter camera dropping out. Pretty good. Yeah, they're all looking alright to me. I love this, Godfrey. He gives me this advice. Transistor number 3 from the right is too far out. I am Jamaican. Oh, I think that's because I said that's what Australians say, far out. I wasn't saying... Oh, never mind. I just thought he was like disclaiming his ethnicity there, or his origins. Like, by the way, man's Jamaican. Love to see it, bro. Never been to Jamaica. I've got a few Jamaican friends, man. They're awesome. What's your thoughts on... Oh, yes, I read that one already. I'm rocking 2 Edge Street 15s. How are you finding them, Jerry? Interested to hear your thoughts, because you've been through quite a few subs, so you've got quite a bit of experience in what sounds good and that. What are your thoughts on the T amps? I've got one here to repair, so I'll let you know once I've repaired it and how to play with it. Which JP amp would be most interesting to get your hands on? I'm not sure. Maybe, I think you guys are best to ask that question. What if I was going to look at a JP amp, what one would you like me to look at? Do you have a fume sucker? No. There we go. There's your fume sucker. I do need to sort that out, by the way. It's really bad. Yeah, I'm fully aware that it's really bad. But yeah, just haven't got anything set up in here yet. Your multimeter camera's upside down. Yeah, that's my bad. That's because I've only just installed this camera and I forgot to invert it. That's my bad. David, I'll just say goodbye now then. Oh, okay. See you later then, David. Hope you're doing alright. I haven't used the mobile ES line, but have tried their high watt amps. Got 40 watts out of them before. Do you mean their head units? Their high watt head units is at 40 watts before clipping. That'd be pretty cool. Do you think 2 Xplod 12s in a box on an Alpine V12 are worth 80? Depends what the Alpine V12 is. If it's one of the monos, maybe. I wouldn't probably pay more than like 15-20 quid for each of the Xplods. So what's that, like 40 tops, then another 40 for the amp. So it depends what the amp is, but and it depends what the box is as well. 80, yeah, it's not a bad asking price, but it's not a bargain. What MOSFETs did you recommend for the base phase 15K? I would say go for IRFP 4229 is what I fitted one time, and that lasted a long time. But you could also fit some IRFP 4868. If you're made of money, you could maybe fit some of these, but you'd probably have to make some drive circuit changes because they're very hard to drive, they're very slow. So only if your technician knows what he's doing in the drive circuit, which by the sounds of it probably doesn't, if he was just going to replace one FET. 4229s are a drop-in, and they'd probably be better. But obviously you got to replace all of them. You can't just replace like one bank with 4229s. If you're going to replace with 4229s, you've got to replace all of them. So that's going to be a bit expensive. You could also go for some IGBTs, but that's going to require some drive circuit changes as well. I'd send you my JP2300 to let you donate it to one of your subscribers. Hey man, that is a seriously generous offer to both myself and also to one of my subscribers who might end up with it. So I think shipping wise, you're probably looking at maybe like 120 to 150 bucks. And then you might have to add on top of that some import tax and duties. So it's not cheap. And then obviously if it was going to be donated to one of my subscribers, then it would probably have to stay within the UK unless someone's going to pay that shipping again to go have it go out of the country again. So yeah, it's a bit tricky, but that is super generous, man, and I'd definitely be open to something like that. But maybe I should just reach out to JP. JP knows who I am. We've never really chatted before, but maybe I should reach out to him and say, hey, a lot of people are asking me about these JP amps. We don't have a distro over here. Firstly, do you want a distro? I mean, I don't want to get into distributing amps, just to put it that way, but there might be someone in the UK that wants to take them on. I can put him in contact with. But I could just say to him, hey, look, do you want to send one over? Lots of people are asking about them. you know, it'd be completely impartial. I might not have great things to say, but I might have great things to say, so see what he says. My JP 10.4 has a whine to the speakers with no RCA attached. That isn't good. Has it always had that? Hey yo! Wait, what's this? Ouch! Yo, what is this? £240 worth of duties and taxes if I was to buy this in the UK. Yo! You see why no one's got one of these in the UK? That is ridiculous, hey? What the fuck? Alright, anyway. I'm trying to look at the guts pick here. It's a Class D. Oh! It's, is it one of those ones that's a bit like the B2 MA6K? Has anybody got a link to decent guts pick of this 10.4? I was already in repair for remote turn off pop. Korea sent them a fix, meaning the amp is not even built right from the start. Wab wab. That is what happens, unfortunately, with when you've got, you know, amplifier being not made by a company that doesn't make amps. They're just relying on the factory's board designs being okay and probably not doing extensive testing on this stuff to make sure it's actually fit for purpose and doesn't have any bugs and issues and stuff like that. Whereas when you're designing an amplifier from scratch yourself and you know what you're doing, you obviously know about these things. Right, anyway, let's see whether this amp is fixed then, shall we? So we're going to power up. Got 9 volts. I'm going to keep it nice and low to start with. Going to go for about 4-5 amps worth of input current. So let's build a bit of rail voltage and see what we got. Let's make sure there's no solder underneath there. Yeah, that's looking all right. Okay, build a bit of rail voltage. We've got rail on high side this one and rail on high side this one. So we're looking for low side over here and low side over here. So let's see whether we get Class D switching. Yep, there we go. Switching frequency of 390 kilohertz on this bank. The funny thing is, with these amplifiers, the switching frequency is usually different. Yeah, it is on the two channels. And that's because the positioning is really bad. I'll explain that in a minute. But yeah, we've got Class D switching on both channels, so it was just a power supply failure. By the looks of things, we've got 2 amps idle current. Looks pretty nice. That's what we like to see. This is what our power supply drain looks like. Not the best, to be honest. The duty cycle is actually kind of low here, 43.9. That could be bumped up a little bit, and that's why we've got this slanty edge here. This ringing is just due to the frequency being unoptimal for this transformer, and the snubber network probably isn't great either, so that's why we've got that. And it looks different on the other transformer, probably because the transformer winds in a slightly different position. Oh, also the reason it looks different is because this transformer has an auxiliary secondary on it, which is going to change how the secondary interacts with the primary. So yeah, not the greatest thing, not well optimized, kind of janky, but it gets the job done, I guess. Big spike there due to wrong frequency being used for these transformers, but you'll have to see it. That's the rectifier input from the secondary output. Again, pretty big spike on there. Yeah, not the most optimized thing, but it's whatever. I can go take a photo of one right now. Take 5 minutes. Yeah, I'm going to lock off the stream in a minute, so maybe one for next time. Send it to my BearViz Facebook page and we'll talk about the JP next time maybe. Or I'll just message you about it. Yeah, just send me a message on BearViz Facebook page and I'll just chat to you about what I think. But yeah. That Latvian video, thank you for the reminder to order more 10 ohm resistors. Praise be the Lord to Latvian video for the reminder, because I would have definitely forgotten. Thank you very much for that. I'm going to order some of those just when the stream ends. Any updates on the Denon D-Jam? That was confusing. To be honest, I haven't looked at it since. It's on the back burner. It's one of those ones that I'll get around to when I've got a bit of spare time. I'm overwhelmed with repairs at the moment. I've got 7 Camco amps. I've got another 15 car amps that have come in that are all like quite higher priority. So the Denon is a headache amp that I'm not able to charge you for the time that I'm spending on it, because it wouldn't be viable of a repair. So when I get ones like that where I've spent too long on it than it's worth, I will fix it, but it's gonna have to be when I'm a bit quieter, when I've got some spare time, I'm afraid, buddy. Otherwise I can just, you know, send it back and write it off, but it will be fixed. But I'll be able to look at it once I've got a bit of spare time. Getting ready to run a Crossfire again. Unfortunately, Crossfire is another brand we don't have in the UK. So all these questions from you guys asking me about amps, what my thoughts are about them. So many of them I can't tell you about because we don't have them in the UK. So I'd love to maybe I'll message some of these American brands and see if they're willing to ship a couple over to me for investigations, so I can at least give you my opinions on some of these brands that you ask about a lot. But yeah, guys, this was a great stream. The numbers were back up. 96 to 110 people watching. Love to see it. Hope you enjoyed. I completely forgot to press the advert button on the stream this evening. Wap wap. I always forget. I always think like, yeah, I'm gonna in a fun way insert an ad break into this stream. I always forget. So I hope you enjoyed it. And we're going to be doing more of these streams this week, getting through some car stuff, doing another stream on these Camco amplifiers. Now that I know a bit more about them, it'll be a more interesting stream because I'll be able to talk you through my process. I've got some Band of Viking 15K to look at. Again, this is the one that I did the retrofit, the MCU bypass. Apparently it didn't really last or didn't really work properly. That was a massively rushed job, so I just want to check that that's okay. And yeah, a few bits. Oh, by the way, does anyone want to see? Do you want to see, just quickly before we go, the passive radiator? So basically, you know what I was talking about earlier? So this is what I built. This is a prefab enclosure. Unfortunately, it's very dark. This is a prefab enclosure with the Edge 12-inch passive radiator, and just on the side there, you got the Digital Designs 1506 active driver. This thing freaking slaps. And this is the amplifier that it's on. Iron Pro MSA 1000, Class AB. It's wired to 4 ohm bridge, which is lower than it should be. It should be an 8 ohm bridge. And I've disconnected the fans, so it does run a bit hot, but I have turned the bias right down. So it's basically running Class B. Yeah, it actually drops. It hits like 26 hertz really, really well. It sounds fantastic. So I'm pretty happy with that for the workshop. It's nice, compact. It just fits there on the rack and doesn't take up too much space, and it drops really low and it's quite loud. So yes, Jerry, you have got 2 of those. I'm very jealous of you actually. You got those for a bloody great price. Yes, that's a fantastic deal you got on those. The box does look a little bit small though, Jerry, for those 2, not gonna lie, and the port looks a little small. You could definitely get loads more out of those, Jerry. If you wanted to get more out of those subs, there's definitely loads more in those subs. Much more port area required to get more out of those. Probably even a quarter wave design of some kind. Oh, nice, Linked and the Warhorse, excellent, thank you. Is it better than the ported box you were using? Yes, so much better. Holy crap. The ported box I did a very brain fart bad design on, and it chuffed like a steam train. It was terrible. You look like Eminem. Big score. Thank you. Love you, mate. Do I look like Eminem? I don't think I look like Eminem. Maybe I do a little bit. Who knows? That's the first time anyone's ever said that. I did it. Yes, the port was way too small. Can you play something? What can I play that's not going to get demoed? Something with some low bass in it. Oh, I can play Basshead Anthem. That's not going to get me demoed, is it? Alright, YouTube.com. Do I have Basshead Anthem on this PC? I'll probably just play the YouTube version that's a little bit clipped. There we go. Alright, let's see. See if I can get you a little bit of flex footage. Now, I don't know how well this DJI Osmo microphone picks up the bass. I've never tried it before, so if you're not getting much bass through your end, then it's just the mic, but it's very bassy in here, so let me see if I can just crank this up a little bit. Hang on a minute, let's try and get that a bit closer. Might have to turn the brightness up a little bit. Hang on a minute. Let me just turn this volume up as well.
This is time to show. No matter what you got, no matter where you're from, it's a love of the bass that keeps your system strong. Get what we want, get what we want, get what we want, get what we want. When you hear it in the drum, when you hear it in the drum, get what we want. So now you're ready up, bring a blast in the tune. Are you liking what you hear? 808 drum beat, and all the people on the block like turn that shit down. Roll down your window, lean out, say I let my beat pound. So you hit them with the lows, not late night till G's. E40, 50 cent a little bit. You pull a crowd, gather round with a few hair tricks about the loving what you do. Yeah, no conflict. So when you wanna show the world how you do what you do.
So as you can see there, the passive radiator is barely moving, and that's because this song, the bass frequencies are actually much higher than the passive rad's tuning frequency. The passive rad's tuned to like 26, 28 hertz. So, sounds a bit weird. So basically, above the tuning frequency of the passive rad, it kind of acts a bit like a seal box, a bit. So it's very bassy, but the active driver is obviously moving a lot. But if I was to play something that was lower, somehow, somewhere, what can I play that's lower that's not going to get me demonetized? Something really slow, chopped and screwed or something. Try and think. So just something that gets the passive rad going a bit. Try and think. Something that's got low bass in it that's not. What have I got? What have I got on here? Tones could be real. Desert, engine system, iTunes, media, music. No, nothing in there. Beats for my van. There we go. That should beats for my van will get demonetized, won't it? Sick drop. DJ Monster. Sick drop. That probably isn't going to get me demonetized. Here we go. That'll do. Hopefully this is low enough.
Sounding like I got 2 bodies in the back of my trunk. 5,000 watts of power just to make this shit jump. Monster on the track, monster had to make this shit bump. Niggas claiming they dropping this shit and shaking the trunk. Riding through the hood, bumping monster beating heavy. People hold their chest cause the bass is so heavy. Dropping low notes, scaring people, scared tactics. People call the law mad cause they shit's the wackest.
So yeah, it goes hard. It sounds that was really bassy in here. I don't know how well the mic will pick it up, but yeah, it does well. It's fine. It's more than enough for the workshop. Yeah, that camera wasn't really showing the excursion that well, but I do have a TikTok showing the excursion a lot better. Actually, let me just quickly get that up, just so you don't have to download TikTok yourself because it's a trash app. Here we go.
This cheap subwoofer is absolutely toasted, but don't throw it away and don't cut the surround. There's something else you can do with these. Using a heat gun, blast under the surround.
So I just showed how I made it.
All nice and toasty. Then here you want to get radical problems, but if the coil is smoked, then I'm just using some all-purpose CA glue to the subwoofer from Digital Designs as the active driver. I'm just making use of this cheap prefab box, cut a hole in it for the driver, and then the passive rad goes in the front. Alright, let's see how it sounds. This cheap subwoofer is absolutely toasted.
So there you go.
Don't throw it away.
That's the little video I made on it. But guys, this has been fantastic. Love this stream. More streams coming this week. A few different bits and pieces. Hope you enjoyed it. And thanks for everyone chipping in for the Q&A and keeping me company while I did some amp repair. Well, have a great evening, and I'll see you a little bit later on in the week. Peace.